which is not often discussed, which is that, remember, guys in particular, the brain is a learning prediction machine. And if, I'm not trying to say that all pornography is bad, but there are good data to support the idea that if your brain learns to be aroused by watching other people have sex, it is not necessarily going to carry over to the ability to get aroused when you're one-on-one with somebody else, right? Especially young kids who are consuming a lot of pornography, the brain is learning sexual arousal to other people having sex.
So you're going to program yourself into being a voyeur?
Or just create challenges in sexual interactions with a real partner. Right?
Mary Harrington has the 3 laws of pornodynamics, and the second law of pornodynamics is the law of FAP entropy. And it says that whatever you start out wanking to will get progressively more intense over time. And I think that this is sort of speaking to that ever sort of escalating amount of the wildness that you need to watch in order to get an ever decreasing stimulus that comes back.
Yeah, and here I'm approaching this only through the lens of biology, right? I'm not a psychologist, and I'm certainly not political in any way. At least I have ideas about politics, but I just don't discuss them publicly. But the idea here is that I'm not saying pornography as a stimulus is bad or good. What I'm saying is it, in its availability and its extreme forms, it's a very potent stimulus. And very potent stimuli of any kind, extremely palatable food, extreme pornography, extreme experiences like bungee cord jumping, those set a threshold for dopamine release. And Anna will tell you that, and I'm sure she did, that the higher the dopamine peak, the bigger the drop afterwards. And it's not that you drop to baseline, you drop below baseline. So again, it's not, these things aren't good or bad, they just have to be controlled in a way, because when people are pursuing dopamine peaks over and over and over and they aren't getting them, typically it's because they've been pursuing that activity far too often.
And you're saying perhaps take a break from that, and there may be an ability for yourself, your system to reset.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, all the things that we're talking about with pornography could be superimposed onto food or could be superimposed onto real sex, right? That one also has to be cautious there, right? But the cycling back and forth between dopamine and low dopamine states, dopamine fasting as it were, but maybe just low dopamine states, these are natural rhythms that existed in the nervous system. We have to remember what the dopaminergic system is there for. I'll say it again, I wasn't consulted at the design phase, but we know as a generic form of motivation and pursuit, you can imagine the human or the animal that's hungry or thirsty. It needs energy to go pursue the thing. So the idea that you have to eat in order to get energy, that's true, but you need energy in order to get the thing to eat. So our nervous system has energy also, that's dopamine and epinephrine. Yes, we use glucose and glycogen, et cetera, when we're pursuing things, but the idea here is you're pursuing something and then either by smell or by sight, you think you're on the right track. So you go down that track and then, there it is. You get some berries, or you get, let's get prehistoric about this, or you get to kill the prey and eat it, and then it gives you energy to continue this pursuit or to reproduce. I mean, there's a reason why humans and other animals seek out reproduction, is that every species, but certainly humans, have 2 innate desires built into them. Whether or not they decide to actualize this or not is the desire to protect young and make more of its own species. Every successful species does that. Even if people don't have children, in general, people care about children because of what they represent. Very few people dislike children. I mean, there are a few mutants out there that dislike children, but you always worry about those kinds of people.
What's happening, people? If you enjoyed that.
All right, first and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who I learned from. Shalom to the hopeful elect, preaching his word in truth and sincerity. And to you ribs, to you sisters out there learning in silence, staying in order, I say to you all, shalom. Right, so, I started researching semen retention, right? That's the holding back of ejaculating, right? So this is more geared towards the men, right? Because I don't really know too much about the women's side of things. But I was getting into the science of what it does to the brain, and how it impacts us on a day-to-day basis, right? Not just watching porn though, just like ejaculating, period. Like, too much of anything is bad, right? We know that. So what happens is that, let's say, for example, right, somebody has a corn addiction, right? And he or she frequently does it. You say once a day, or some people might go even more as 2-3 times a day if you have a real problem. Right, what happens to your body is all the nutrients, right, and your brain, your spine, your gut, all that is connected to it, right? There's a straight line going down to your nutsack, right? Because sperm starts at the brain. And when you are actually continuously doing that, it takes a lot of nutrients to try to recover that. Imagine having to do that recovery process two times a day, whatever times you do it, on a day-to-day basis, right? For years, right? You start to decline in health, right? You start to snowball downhill, right? Which leads into other issues, right? Depression and things of that nature. Like, demons just start hopping on you, right? And what happens with the opposite, right? When you have this what's so-called semen retention. One channel that I started watching, I was dabbling into, was Semen Gods. The name is paused, but that it has a lot of pretty good information in there as well, among other sources. Yeah, man. It basically connects you back, to the Father, right? Because you're 100% yourself, right? Even Paul himself said, if you burn, marry, but I'd rather you be as myself, right? Basically, with no wife, just focus on the mission, right? That's how that connects you more to the Lord, right? Not giving in to the, to the desires of wanting to nut all the time, right? And this is a really this is a really uncomfortable topic to speak about, right? But it must be talked about, right? It's hard to talk to, men in a circle that, hey, man, we gotta, keep this in check and stuff of that nature, right? Because we should all know these things, man. But if you're struggling in your life and you feel like you're down, and you feel like, everything's foggy, you got bad memory, right? You're basically just looking at every woman as a piece of meat, right? It walks by. These are desires of the flesh, man, that we have to rule over our bodies, right? I'm Ephraim, right? Ephraim means he is fruitful. So me, myself, I love to try to spread my seed, man. This is what it's in my name, right? But I have to, rule my flesh, I'm speaking to me, myself, all of us, man. Right, I would implore brothers to try to do a semen retention for 2 months straight, or even 30 days. Just try it. I've done it before. This is the reason why I was dabbling back into it, because there was a time in my life where I was dealing with health issues and things of that nature, and it kind of worried me. This is before I was in the truth. And it kind of worried me to a point where I got really healthy, and something in my spirit, in my body, told me that not ejaculating will help me boost my health while I'm working out, right? So I knew that, even in the world, I knew that the stuff in my testicles will make me stronger, better, faster, if I did not release it. This is a force of life that, produces life, through the power and strength of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? We have life building proteins and things of that nature to, we have life in our nutsack, so to speak. So why not hold on to that source of power and generate positive things in righteousness' name, right? I'm gonna get a couple of presets real quick. I ain't gonna make this one too super long. Right, we're gonna go to, actually I was there, it's Ephesians chapter 2 and start at verse 1. And you hath he quickened who were dead in trespasses and sins. Right, now that we know the truth, right, the Lord had quickened us, right, from our past lives. So we cannot do the things that we did when we was in the world like we do in this truth, right? Like, I don't believe that looking at porn, to me personally, speaking as a man, I don't think that watching porn is lawful. I'm just gonna say straight up. I don't think that any of us who's coming across this video could sit here and comfortably say that it's okay with Yahushua if he was, you know, on this world right now, walking the earth, and you know you're doing this thing, and there's a guilt to it, right? When you watch it, when you do something like that, you get a guilt, right? Because you know it's just nasty. Verse 2: where in time past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, which is Satan, right? The spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Right? This is when you start walking in the lust of the flesh. Right? Worldly pleasures. Right? Because what happens when you start, you know, releasing your semen, you're releasing dopamine and things of that nature, then you look for other dopamine highs, right? Things to get a dopamine high from, whether it be video games, movies, anything, right? Distractions. This is what Satan wants. This is why corn is free. Because they know that if the men watch it, right, there'll be less of a man. Right? Verse 3, among whom also we all had our conversations in time past in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh, of the mind, right? Wherever that may be, man, I know corn's in there. Corn's like number one or three, one of those, right? Right, women, nutting, you know, procreating, it's in human nature, man. If you could conquer this lust, you'll be that much more powerful, right? It says, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and where by nature the children of wrath, even as others, right? I really do hope that at least that, you know, this really reaches somebody, because I think that this is life changing for a lot of brothers. It's not really talked about that much, to be honest with you. This is Matthew chapter 26 and verse 41. Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. Right? And not enter into temptation in this world, right? Not in Jacob's trouble. I'm not personally speaking of Jacob's trouble. I'm talking about this world, right? Because there's a lot of distractions, a lot of temptations here, man, that's gonna knock you off your horse. You know, it's just like I said earlier, man. It just causes snowball effects that does not allow you to perform as a man in this truth. Right, ruling the flesh is something that's big for us, because you know we do fastings. You know we abstain from a lot of unlawful things, but a lot of stuff that we don't talk about is, right, the semen retention thing, man. It's a conversation that needs to be had, right? Matthew 26:41. Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak, right? We know this. We know that our bodies are constantly trying to draw us, you know, at a much negative vibration because it feels good. right? Whereas the spirit is trying to bring us in a higher elevated state of mind, right? So it's two contrasts, right? So I used to do asphalt and seal coating, and asphalt and seal coating is the road, basically, right? It's basically tar, rock, sand, right, mixed together to make a strong ground, right? And one thing that we used to tell people is that when they had like a cement walkway and then it attaches to the asphalt in a driveway, those two things, whether how close you put them, no matter if it's brand new, you put them real close to each other and you press them up against each other, they're always gonna pull apart from each other. Like they're not gonna come together, right? You're never gonna be able to seal that gap and keep it sealed. So it's like the spirit and the flesh are always contrast to each other. They're always pulling apart from each other. I want to go to Romans 8 real quick. Now, in Romans 8, this is talking about, circumcising the heart as far as keeping the laws in your heart, right? And not to the T, right? I'm not going to go into this as far as that, but I'm going to use this as an example, right? This is Romans chapter 8, verse 5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the spirit, the things, Salakia, read from the top. Romans chapter 8, verse 5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, right? What you put in your mind is what you chase, right? Where your love is, so is your heart. Salakia, what was that precept? Where your mind is, so is your heart. Oh, damn, man. I'll get it in a minute. Right. It says, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the spirit, the things of the spirit. Right. And I know brothers is listening, and brothers who's actually in this thing, actually in this thing, are in the spirit. So I'm not technically speaking to y'all. If you're doing the right things, call Allah Yahweh Bashim Yahushai for that. But these are for the newcomers, or if you're a brother that is in the spirit but is struggling, or is in a bad time, or is dealing with something, this is something to consider. Verse 6, for to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. That's the key, right? Peace, right? This is what men desire. This is what men want, right? Even for my women, right? A righteous woman should be a pillar of rest for the man, because a man seek rest, man, peace. Man, I can't really think about that precept I was thinking about. But anyways, man, I hope this lesson was edifying, man. I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakah, HaKodesh. Double honors to the elders and apostles, the GMS who I learned from. Shalom to the whole for the elect, preach his word in truth and sincerity. And to you ribs, to you sisters out there learning silence and staying in order, I say to you all, Shalom.